when you cut and you cut it well, this is how it's supposed to be. All right, this is how it's supposed to be. Realize that you have about 2 inches spaced between the front back pattern, and the back pattern from here, and we have about 3 inches. It will be about 3 inches or 3.5. Okay, so it's almost 4 inches at the front here. Hello beautiful people, you are welcome on Sew with PaulVin. You know how I do my things. Disappointment is never part of my work. You know what I do? I'm PaulVin. I go around shop talking about fashion. I talk to masters and seamstresses. They share their experiences on my channel so that apprentices, beginners, and even masters, pros can come on here and learn just as they are in their shops, in the comfortability of the online education. Now I'm here in Gloria 1 fashion shop to talk to master, whoever or whatever his name is. He will tell us himself. Please, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Please, how are you?
I'm fine and waiting.
I'm good. Tell our viewers, they are waiting. Please, what's your name?
My name is Menja Edward.
Menja Edward.
Yeah.
All right. So Menja, please, what do you have for us today?
Today we are here to learn how to cut a trousers.
Okay. So he said today we are here to learn how to cut trousers. Now this video is going to be in 2 folds. You know, I once thought about how to cut trousers, but the language that I use is becoming a blockade, a barrier to most of you. You are complaining about the language, therefore we are going to do this in verbally and actually in English. So he'll be teaching you the type 1 of trousers cutting, and I'll be teaching you the type 2 of trousers cutting, so that whichever way that you want to go on here, you are not restricted at all. All right, so let's just go to the table and start learning. You know, let's sew with PaulVin. Follow me. All right, so this is the measurement that we are going to use. The waist is going to be 34 inches. The hip length is going to be 7 inches. The hip circumference is going to be 39.5. The crotch, which is the same as the seat, is going to be 10 inches. The thigh is going to be 22 inches. The knee length is going to be 21 inches. Knee circumference is 16.5. Length of the trousers is 38 inches, and the bar is 13 inches. Now, if you don't know how to take these measurements, I've already done a video on the taking of measurements. So you can just look up there on this video and you will get a link to where, or to the first video I made about how to take measurement of trousers and shirts. Also, if you don't really understand English, I've done this same video in Twi language, so you can also look up there right now and you can get a link to the first video I made in Twi, so that you can get the understanding better. All right, so let's start work. Now the first thing we must do is we must put a straight line at the bar level or at the base. All right, now our gentleman here will be standing by and asking me any question that baffles his mind, since his style is different from my style. Okay, so the first thing we do is we put a straight line at the base. Normally it's better you use a T-square, but if you don't have a T-square, you can also depend on your own eye. So after you've done the baseline, the next thing you must do is to get the full measurement of the trousers, which is 38 inches. Now with the 38 inches, you are going to add 1 inch to it, making 39 inches. 39 inches. So you make the point double, so that making a straight line out of it will be easier. So this is going to be the full length of our trousers. Now this is the base and this is the waist. So from the waist we partition the hip length which is 10 inches. No, 10 inches rather, not 9 inches. 10 inches. Okay, look at that. Now from the base, you partition the hip length, which is 7 inches. The hip length. And you partition the seat, or what we call the crotch, which is 10 inches. You also partition the knee length, which is 21 inches. 21 inches. So you double the point by copying them to the other side so that you can make a straight line out of them. 7 inches for the hip length, 10 inches for the seat, 21 inches for the bar. Let's go ahead now and join our points into a straight line. So in case Eddie has any question, Eddie will ask for you. Now, after doing this, what we must do is to partition the base or the bar. With the bar, normally people put 2 inches down here. But per my experience, I don't do it like that. I put 4 inches at the bar. At the bar, and I'll explain why. Okay, put 4 inches. Okay, the bar. So normally you understand that when you sew the trousers, you will fold the bar. You sew it 2 inches like this, which will be seen inside the trousers. All right, you fold the bar 2 inches and sew it. Okay, now people have been making here 2 inches. Because of that, they draw the pattern and bend it so that when they are sewing and the top here part is bigger than the down here, because they bent it, it will come and it will account for itself. However, sometimes I realize that when you do it that way and you are sewing, still you are able to get cramps inside. When you fold it and you are sewing, you're able to get cramps inside it. Therefore, I make it 4 inches, and I make it that from here to this side, when I'm cutting the pattern, it becomes very equal. And when I'm sewing it, the same thing, I leave equal allowance in the trousers so that you don't get any shortage anywhere, and you don't get cramps. It doesn't crumple in the middle. When we are done cutting, you will see how the pattern will be like, and you will love it. When you try it, you will not be disappointed. So after doing this partition, here becomes a bar, here is the knee, this is the crotch. It is on the crotch line that we are also going to draw or partition the thigh, and this is the hip, and here will be the waist. The first thing we will do is we will draw the thigh. The thigh is 22 inches. Now what I must explain to you is that all the measurements here, the bar, the knee to the thigh, we are only going to divide them into 2. But the measurement for the waist and hip will be divided into 4. So put that in mind. So the thigh is first. The thigh is 22 inches. Divide by 2 will give you 11. Alright? So we won't put any allowance. So 11 inches for the thigh. Let me confirm. Yes, 11 inches for the thigh. And the hip is 39 and a half. 39 and a half. When you divide it into 4, you will get approximately 9 3/4. 9 3/4. That one too, no allowance. It's even more than 9 3/4. I think it's about 9.85. So you can even make it 10, so that it will be exactly 40. All right. So we will copy the same measurement here for the waist. So 9.85. That's almost like 10. All right. Then we are going to make a straight line out of these 2 points. Let me extend it down a bit. Now, the waist measurement is 34 inches. When you divide 34 into 4, we will get 8.5. 8.5. Then we are going to add 1 inch to it, and that will give us 9.5. With that 9.5, the 1 inch I added is supposed to be a dart allowance. All right, but I don't do that on the front side of the packet. However, after sewing, you realize that the 1 inch allowance that we put on it will be exhausted, or will be subsumed into the sewing excess, or the sewing allowance that we put on the waist. All right, any extra excess will be pushed towards the back allowance that we leave, and the trouser will still be fine. So 8.5 plus 1 inch will give us 9.5. So from this point, I'll measure 9.5 here. All right. So I'll join this point to this side. Join the waist to the hip with a straight line. You can extend that straight line above the waistline a bit, and you understand why. We'll come to later. And you are supposed to draw a curve from this point into this point. Now you realize that the tie is too close. Let me extend this line to join the crotch. You realize that when you take measurement of this point, you get like 1 inches. Normally it's supposed to be like 1.5. It's too close. The tie is too close to the main hip line. All right, so I can extend it a bit. It wouldn't really make much difference. So I'll make an arc curve from this point to join this line. You are supposed to use a French curve, but if you don't have a French curve, you are allowed to use a free hand, like I'm doing. All right, like this. Okay. Now you take the middle point of the waist measurement. The waist was 9.5, almost 10. So let's say the middle point on the knee and on the 2 bar lines, 5 inches. So this point becomes the middle point. Now our knee circumference is 16.5. As I said, it will be divided into 2. So dividing 16.5 into 2, you will get 8.25. So with 8.25, we make sure that we share the 8.25 for both sides of the middle point. All right. So 4 and a bit of quarter will go here. 4 and a bit of quarter will come here, so that we will get the 8.25. All right. Now this trousers is going to be a fitting trousers. The bar is here, but the same measurement that we put here will also come here, so that we achieve a straight line from this line to this line. The bar is 13. We divide 13 into 2, and that will give us 6.5. So 6.5 will be shared for both sides of the middle point. So that will be 3.25 at each side. 3.25 here and 3.25 here. That's 6.5. The same thing to this side. 3.25, 6.5. All right. So we come to the top here. You see, we extended the hip line, the hip side line, to a bit of above the waistline. Now this was the reason. We are going to extend this line by about 1 inch, or you can make it 3/4, but I'll make it 1 inch, and then we will join it to the waistline at the flap level. So this is how it's going to be like. Now it's time for us to make our pattern. So you start from this side, you will join the points. So from here to here, don't forget you don't put any extra allowance. Eddie, do you have any question? Or you are understanding it already?
I'm understanding.
Okay.
But how do you add 1 inch in the top?
All right, the 1 inch in the top, there is it. You see, you are sewing the trousers to fit a human body. Therefore, you should use the anatomy of a human body to sew the trousers. Whichever shape that the human body has must be shown or depicted on the trousers. Now, if you are watching this video right now, check yourself. Look at your waist. You realize that the side of your waist, the height of that part is not the same as the middle point of your waist, where you are getting towards your prepuce area, your genital area. All right. You realize that your side waist is raised about 1 inch or 1.5 inches above your prepuce area. Okay. So that's why this will be the prepuce area, and this will be the side waist, and your body waist. This part is raised about 1 inch or 1.5 inches above this point. That's why we also show it or account for it in the pattern, so that when you wear your trousers, it fits your body just as the anatomy of the body shows. All right, Eddie, I hope I've explained myself well. All right, so let's continue with joining our points to form our beautiful pattern. All right, so let me put my phone on silent before anybody comes to disturb us. So we join the knee to the crotch line. Now from the crotch line to the hip line, you make a straight line out of them. Now this is the front pattern of our trousers. All right, we have to cut it out and begin with our back pattern. If you follow my steps keenly, you are not supposed to have any mistake. And as I said, don't forget that when you are sewing, you should leave equal allowance at both sides of the trousers. Some of you will leave 1/4 inch allowance at the outer seam. When I say the outer seam, I mean the outer part of your leg. and you will go and leave about 1 inch allowance at the inseam. That's the inner part of your leg, and that allowance that you leave there will deform the shape of the trousers. So take note, if you are leaving ½ inch allowance, it should be equal at both sides. Don't bias it. Now, don't forget to subscribe to Sew with PaulVin. As you can see, there are so many good things we have for you here. Don't forget, I said Eddie will also be cutting the type 1. Alright, it's because that we've already shared the type 2 of the trousers cutting. That's why I'm doing the type 2 first. After this, Eddie will also show the type 1. Okay, so you can see the trousers, how beautiful it already is. So when you sew this for your customer, you're supposed to be happy wearing it. Let's go ahead and cut the back pattern. So with the back pattern, you put the front pattern on the fabric the way that you think it will help you get the full pattern drawn without any hindrance. That's why I have turned it. So if you think you can do it without turning the front pattern, fine, go ahead. Now I am first going to leave about 2 inches at the top. And by the time I'm done cutting, you understand why I'm leaving 2 inches here. Okay, so this straight line I've made here, I'll make sure that the waistline drops exactly on the straight line here. Okay, so you have seen that the waistline passes through like that. All right, so I will mark, or I will extend the partition lines on the back fabric. You don't need to really draw them long like that. Alright, so what we are going to do is that we are going to put 2 inches on the crotch line at the back fabric, or on the back pattern, 2 inches here. Alright, and I'm going to put 1 inch here.
Why do you put 1 here and put 2 here?
Okay, normally people put about 1.5 or 2 inches here, but I realize that when you do it that way, it gives your tie, right, this kind of excess material, and then when you wear it, you see that the tie area is very much folded and cramped. Right? With slim fit, you're supposed to get the trousers shed around your thigh and your body nicely so that no parts of the trousers get too much share of the fabric. When each any part gets too much share, then it means that that part will use the excess share and crumple it for your customer, and it won't be nice for people to watch the trouser on you. As we say, slim fit, so it must fit you. So this 2 inches here will extend itself, will be distributed to both sides, the front pattern and the back pattern, when you are done sewing. Some of these things you may not be able to really understand them well unless you start practicing them. Then your customers will come to you with the testimony that in fact you did a good job. So with the base part, talking about the knee and the bar, you are only going to share 1.5 inches for both sides. When I say you are sharing 1.5 inches for both sides, I mean you put 3 quarters here and 3 quarters here. Now I'm using 3 quarters because I don't really leave much allowance in my trousers, because I believe that when you leave too much, not even I believe, I know that when you leave too much allowance in your trousers, it deforms the shape of the trouser, does not really flow well on the person's body. So I really leave just 1/2 inch allowance on both sides. So 3 quarters here, 3 quarters here. Now this is where the main issue is, the waist. Just as I explained why I raised this part, when you check the back part of your waist, the middle, on your spine, all right, where we have your cauda vertebra, you realize that part is very much raised to the top, more than your prepuce area under your belly button. Okay, you realize that the back part of your waist is almost equal to where your belly button is. Therefore, we have to also raise the back side. If not, when your customer bends down, the buttocks will be showing, and that will be funny. So this is how we are going to do it. Because the human buttocks is also protruding outside, we have to make sure that we slope the back side. I normally slope my back side by 2 inches. It's good if you are using 1/2 inches, depending on how big your customer buttock is. Especially when you are sewing for ladies, you must always use 2 inches or more. People with bigger buttock sides require using more than 2 inches. All right. So I've raised here. I've shorten this part by 2 inches, and I'm going to raise this part by 2 inches. All right, now the waist is 9.5. Okay, so we are going to put 2 inches on the 9.5. That will give us about 11.5 inches. And we'll mark that one for the back waist. Okay, so I'll put my finger here about 1/2 inch away from the hip line. Right, I'll put my finger there and I'll raise the fabric and make a mark. All right. And I'll turn the fabric like this, and I'll join this line to this line so it passes through the mark I made here. By the mark I made here, and I'm going to join this point to the waist line that I raised, and I'm supposed to get a bit of slope. All right, so now let's start joining our points together. I'll start from here. Now come to this side. Don't forget to subscribe to Sew with PaulVin. Subscribe to our channel. That's the only way you can support us. So with this side, normally I like measuring the length again, and I'll use the same thing for the back pattern. So it has now become 40. So and I'll join this point to this point. Sometimes when you are sewing and your sewing machine will be pulling the fabric that's lying down, alright, so you realize that after sewing you short either the front or the back trousers. Okay, the secret behind it is that when you sew from the down, the base, to maybe the middle point, you have to turn the fabric and begin to sew from the top, so that by the time that you are done, the machine will pull this side small, and it also when you turn it, it's also pull the other side so that it will be equalized. Okay, so that's a skill for you to keep and start using. So this is the pattern. Now we are here to do the buttocks curve. All right, that part we will extend this line a bit down, like 1/4 inch. You bring this line down like 1/4 inch. Like 1/4 inch, and then we will draw. As I said, it's always better that you use your French curve, but if you are good at using raw hand or rough hand, you are good to go. Now the reason why I brought this one down a bit is that you realize that from the front knee to the crotch or the tie line, right, the slope is not really that much like the way this part is sloped. So if you cut them the same with the same measurement, then so you realize that this part is longer than this. So that's why we brought this line down a bit, about 1/2 inch, so that it will even fit the front curve. So that's it. The front pattern. Eddie, do you have any question? It's okay. All right. You can also share your experience if you have anything to share. So when you cut and you cut it well, when you cut and you cut it well, this is how it's supposed to be. All right, this is how it's supposed to be. Realize that you have about 2 inches spaced between the front back pattern, the front pattern and the back pattern from here, and we have about 3 inches. It will be about 3 inches or 3.5. Okay, so it's almost 4 inches at the front here. All right, when you are sewing and you sew masterly, if you want to know how to sew the parts, the pockets, the back pockets, and those things, I've done videos on them. So go back and check my previous videos, and you will know how to sew complete trousers just learning from my channel. All right, so this is the end of the trousers cutting video. I will say bye for here. Don't forget, we said we are going to do the type 1 too. So the next time that we post on that video, Eddie will be showing you the type 1 of the trousers cutting video. Thanks for sewing, PaulVin. All right, I'll say bye.